Hi, everybody. I just wanted to point something out since about every single TV channel news, like Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, all these guys, they're saying about how Trump's racist, and maybe he is. I don't know Trump. Maybe he's racist. The only thing I'm thinking is, though, since when did they care about racism? What have they ever done to prevent racism there? Let's be honest. I think that everyone that runs CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC is a racist. So it's very suspicious to me that they only want to call Trump a racist and they let all the other racists go free, which is not cool. I'm not saying that every white person is a racist or anything like that. That would actually be racist because you can't just judge somebody based upon the color of their skin. However, there is racism in power in America, and I'll just give you a small example of how and why that the news doesn't want to tell you because they're bought and paid for by the racist people. And they're not just racist, they just hate anybody that's poor. And maybe not necessarily hate, however, they believe that they should be in power and they should be in control of everyone. And unless you're born into their group, you shouldn't be a part of it. Now, let's just see what's going on here. This is, if you just Google United States Congress longevity of service, you'll see how many congressmen were in power for tons and tons of years and still are to this day in power for tons and tons of years while all the problems of America have been going on and racism, which is real. I think that racism is going down. There is less racism in America today than there was. I mean, 50 years ago, maybe you couldn't even be black and sit on a bus, right? You had to get to the back of the bus. You couldn't go to a white school. So I feel like it is getting better. And I feel like we should continue to make progress on that. And I feel like if you look at the longevity of service by Congress, you'll see who has been blocking the progress. It's not the people of America. It's not white people. It's these Congress people that have been in power. So, just for an example, there's this guy, Robert Byrd. He was in Congress for 57 years and 176 days. And you know what happened? He died. And if you Wikipedia Robert Byrd, you'll see in the 1940s, this gentleman was in the Ku Klux Klan in the 1940s. And he even filibustered the Civil Rights Act, which means that when they're about to pass the Civil Rights Act, which was saying it's illegal to tell you that if you're black, you can't go to a white school, which is a good thing. He sat there and gave a long, long speech to try and make everyone go home and not be able to vote on it, like 53-hour speech, so that you can't continue the process. You're not actually blocking the process. However, you're like slowing it down and trying to prevent it from happening. So hopefully everyone that was going to vote for it isn't going to sit there and wait for you to finish your 53-hour speech. It was really messed up. This guy, Robert Byrd, stayed in power until like 2010 when he died. How on earth is that guy still in Congress? Why do we have this guy running our country? And look at all these other people. Daniel Inouye, he was in there 53 years, 118 days until he died. Sam Rayburn, 48 years, 257 days until he died. Wright Patman, 47 years, 3 days until he died. Let's look at some people that aren't even dead. They're still in Congress. Thad Cochran. This guy's been in power for 45 years and 6 days. Still there, it looks like, because it doesn't say like why he left, so that indicates that he's still there. Don Young, 44 years, 309 days. Still there. Patrick Leahy, 43 years, 6 days. Still there. Chuck Grassley, 43 years, 6 days. I guess he was in the same year that Patrick Leahy, he also was voted into Congress, and he never left. So all the problems that we see with racism, do you think that maybe these people that are in Congress for 40, 50 years have anything to do with the problem? I do. I personally do think that they do have a part of the problem. Like, for instance, when Martin Luther King was changing America for the better, the head of the FBI, Robert Hoover or whatever, J. Edgar Hoover, he wrote him a letter saying that, like, we hate you, you better stop, we'll ruin you. And it's like, Martin Luther King, we hate Martin Luther King. Who hates him? I like Martin Luther King. I'm thankful for the change that he brought to America. And then you have the head of the FBI saying, we're going to shut you down, we're going to ruin you, we're going to ruin your name. People are going to think of Martin Luther King as like a horrible, horrible person. And then why didn't any of these Congress people that were in power do anything about it? They didn't do anything about it. You know, Martin Luther King was on his own. The people were behind him. If you watch his speeches, you'll see that the reason that he made a difference is because he said thank you to all the people that are here, not the congressmen that were supporting him. He said thanks to all the people, and he did say, yeah, thank you to the white people as well, because I see you there too. So let's not just act like every white person is a racist, please. I do appreciate that there is racism, and I want it to end as well because it's ignorance. Because look at that movie about NASA that just came out where the white NASA scientists couldn't figure out the math, and then they had to let a black woman help them with the math. That's real life. There's going to be black people that could do things better than white people. There's going to be white people that could do things better than black people. You can't just judge somebody based upon the color of their skin. There's more to it. So if we're going to go ahead and just say, oh, that person's this, that person's that, they can't participate, we miss out. Now, these Congress people don't care if we miss out, because while our country has been suffering, they're living lavish. They're living beautiful. They have the perfect life. Look at Obama. Look how nice his suits are. Look how rich he is. Is he working? Does Obama have a job now? Does Hillary or Bill have jobs? These people are filthy rich, enjoying their life while the country suffers. So I don't think that's very fair. And I'm not saying that people can't be rich. I think that, you know, if you do a good job at something and you make more money and you save your money and you invest your money, you do deserve to be rich. However, I don't think these Congress people deserve to be rich because they didn't even have a job. Obama didn't even have a job. He was just, you know, working for Monsanto, passing laws to ruin the country. And I'm not saying Democrats ruin the country, like some people would say. Republicans too. Look at George Bush. He made us go to a war in Iraq. When the Twin Towers were attacked by the Taliban in Afghanistan, why did we go to fight with Iraq? And he even said there's weapons of mass destruction there. And now we know he lied. So he was a Republican and he was ruining the country as well. And then Obama, what did he do in his first 100 days? Give George Bush amnesty. So I think that the Democrat and Republican parties are both criminals, and that we should vote out all these people. We should not have these people still sitting in Congress for 40, 50 years. This is messed up. Continue on down the line. I mean, Ed Markey, 41 years, 68 days, still in power. Orrin Hatch, 41 years, 6 days. I think that's the guy that said he's not going to rerun this year because of Trump. However, he's been there 41 years and 6 days. What has he done to help the country? How come the country's still suffering? Why is our economy in the dumps if these people have been in power all this time? It's not their fault, right? They're just the ones that make all the laws. And then you have William Natcher. He was there 40 years, 240 days until he died. William P. Frye, 40 years, 157 days until he died. Daniel A. Reed, 39 years, 352 days, died. So Richard Shelby, 39 years, 6 days, still a congressman. Jim Sensenbrenner, 39 years and 6 days, still in power. So if you're going to wonder why there's racism in America and is the news media trying to protect us from Trump, I don't think so. I would wonder why they would only attack Trump. Maybe Trump's a racist. I don't know the guy. I mean, I do know that he did say that, you know, you're born with the power to be wealthy, so maybe he is a racist. I mean, it seems so. I'm just saying, how come we're only attacking Trump? Why? So you're saying that Hillary's not a racist? Because that's ridiculous. Look at all these other people. Steny Hoyer, 36 years, 235 days, still in power. Look at this whole group. Ron Wyden, Pat Roberts, Chuck Schumer. I think we all know Chuck Schumer, 37 years, 6 days. Let's get rid of him. Hal Rogers, Chris Smith. And look at this too. Between Ron Wyden, he's a Democrat. Pat Roberts, a Republican. Chuck Schumer, a Democrat. Hal Rogers, a Republican. Chris Smith, a Republican. So it's both. Don't just say that, oh, now people are saying, oh, the right is the reason that everything's going good now. The conservative Republicans are saving the country. I don't think so. These people have been in power for 30, 40, 50 years. So why would they just save the country now? And if Trump really is helping the country, then how come none of the Republicans liked him? He was on there in the Republican primaries calling them all liars, making fun of Jeb Bush, because Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, and he's George Bush's brother, and he said he's not going to win the election, and because I'm beating him, he's going to run and cry to his mommy and daddy for more campaign money. He called Ted Cruz, some Republican from Texas or something. He called him Lying Ted Cruz. So the Republicans, they weren't doing anything to help the country. Trump was like fighting them all. They didn't like Trump. So now to say that, oh, the Republicans are the reason the country's doing well, that's not true. The real reason that the country may be doing well is because of the people. The people are the ones that are helping the country, even though our leadership hasn't been doing anything to help us. Look at every time there's a vote. How come when there's a tax bill, no Democrat voted for the tax bill? Or there's other bills that no Republican would vote for? How come we have these like crybaby 4-year-olds in power that are like, no, if he's voting for it, I'm not going to vote for it? That's ridiculous. I mean, can't we get some intelligent people in Congress? And the reason we can't is because we allow these people to stay in power. Now, possibly we'll do something like a blockchain voting. Now, if you're not familiar with blockchain, that's something that like Bitcoin and stuff like that uses. And it's a way that through like computer technology, you're recording every single thing. So every transaction in Bitcoin is recorded in this thing called the blockchain. So you can't fake a Bitcoin transaction. That's why it's counterfeit proof. Now, if we do blockchain for voting, maybe we'll see that most Americans weren't even voting for these people because we know they're criminals. How come Obama became president so quickly when he said, we're going to change, we're going to change, we're going to change? What was he changing? The old way that all these Congress people have been keeping. They're not changing. They're in power 30, 40, 50 years doing the same exact thing. And as soon as Obama said, we're going to change, people voted for him. As soon as Trump said, we're going to drain the swamp, people voted for him. And now, I don't disagree that Trump may be a racist. However, I don't think that everyone who voted for him is a racist. That's not true. I think most of the people that voted for him were the same people that voted for Obama that want change. They want to get rid of the corruption. So I think the people of America are good people. You have people working 2, 3 jobs to support their family. They're hardworking, good people. They're not evil. They're not racist. The evil racist people are the people in Congress that have been doing nothing to help America. Like, for instance, the LAPD being super racist and beating Rodney King and stuff. Who can control the LAPD? Not you and me. They'll arrest us too. The Congress can. The Congress can make laws to prevent the LAPD from being racist. When the Ferguson, Missouri riots were happening because of the mistreatment of black people, and then Eric Holder and Obama went in and saw that on their public emails, not private emails. You know, it's America. You can't go through people's private emails, or you shouldn't. You can, however, go through a police station's public emails, and there was nothing but racism in those emails. They had reportedly a picture of Obama that was supposed to be like a cartoon monkey and stuff, which is some kind of racist reference. Now, how come they can do that? Who's overseeing the police? It should be the Congress. They're the ones that make all the laws. Like when Trump was trying to instate the travel ban on the 7 countries that Obama made that list, and then Trump tried to enact the ban Trump didn't make that list. Obama made that list saying that these 7 countries have people that we're thinking there could be terrorists coming into our country. So how come stuff like that is happening and nobody's doing anything? And why don't we have good leadership in this country? It's because there's congressmen that have been there for like 30, 40, 50 years. And in my opinion, the voting is very fraudulent. Like when Al Gore versus George Bush, um, Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, and reportedly there was voter fraud there. There's a whole movie on HBO called The Recount, which showed that the machines were like rigged so that if you voted for Al Gore, it'll say, thanks for voting for George Bush. And then he wanted a recount, and he was like, this ain't right. This ain't right. But then he ended up conceding, saying, oh, it's cool. We're both on the same team anyway. Me and George Bush are really equals. We just want to make sure we're in power and you're not. However, that was fraud. There was fraud going on there. And then same thing with, and that's Republicans winning by fraud. And then look at Obama. There was this group called Acorn that got caught doing all kinds of fraud. And you can even YouTube it and you'll see Obama saying, oh, I didn't use Acorn for my second run. Saying like, yeah, okay, they were doing fraud, but it wasn't me. So both parties are engaging in voter fraud. That's why I think they should instate blockchain technology into the voting so that, you know what, you can't fake a vote. If you vote for somebody, that's for sure going to be seen. They can't just say, you can't just have one person voting 3 times. You can't have any kind of fraud going on, which I think there is voter fraud because I think people are smart and they don't want the corruption anymore. However, whenever you try to vote for somebody, they don't want to really count your vote. For example, Ross Perot ran as an independent, and then he had to leave the race. And if you look at CNN, they're saying that he said, Larry King kept asking him, why did you drop out of the race? He's like, you really want to know? They threatened me. They threatened my daughter's wedding. So I dropped out of the race. He was an independent. He started going up. Now, when there's 3 people in a race, you only need 34% to win. Maybe even less because guess what? Like 3 or 4% might vote for somebody you never heard of, like Gary Johnson. So the voting in America has fraud in it. However, Obama, when he was being accused of fraud, he said like 1,000 times that there cannot be any voter fraud in America. It's impossible. There can't be any voter fraud in America. And now when Trump wins, they're saying, oh, the Russians hacked the election. So which is it? Is there voter fraud or is there not voter fraud? So they're not really being honest. That's why I think we should make them be honest by instating something like blockchain technology so at least the people can have a say. Because in my opinion, the people are the ones that are good in this country. The people are awesome. And then we shouldn't have these congressmen that are 99% old white men all being in power. America is not 100% white people, so our leadership shouldn't be 100% white people either. We have a mixed country, so we should have a mixed leadership. That just makes sense, you know? And I think that if we got rid of every single Democrat and Republican tomorrow, and we just put in like school teachers, principals, fathers, bosses, just average everyday American people, the whole country would turn around like this. Because the problems in America aren't caused by like human condition like they would want you to believe. Oh, humans are just a virus. We're just going to destroy the world. If these people didn't run the country, other criminals would take their place. I disagree. I think they're the worst criminals and that most people are good. Most people wouldn't do what they do. Like, for instance, every single drug company in America is committing fraud all the time. They're getting sued every single year. Class action lawsuits. There was that drug Vioxx. The FDA approved it, and then we found out that the company, Merck, I think it was, lied. They knew Vioxx was dangerous, not safe, not effective, so they had to pay the families millions of dollars. However, they made billions of dollars on Vioxx, so they actually profited still after they paid all the lawsuits, billions with a B. So how come that kind of stuff is allowed to happen every day? Isn't that like terrible? I think that's terrible because no American would be okay with murdering people on a mass scale like that. I think 99% of the people in America would be like, whoa, guys, we can't approve this Vioxx stuff, man. We can't just tell people this is going to help them and we know it's going to kill them just to make money. That's crazy. And you know what else it is? There's nothing wrong with making money. However, they won't allow natural cures for diseases because they don't want Americans to make money. They just want a small group to make money. Because guess what? Even though Merck made billions off of Vioxx, if you allowed a natural cure, more people would make more than billions. We could probably make $1 trillion by changing the medicine around. So I'm not saying being rich is bad or anything. We'll make even more money if they stop being corrupt. The corruption takes away the money because what about those people that died? Those people that died, they can't work anymore. They can't support their families. They can't teach their children things to help them. You know, so the economy suffers because of that, and only a small handful makes money. So it's not about making money as a bad thing. I think making money can be a good thing. However, the way they're making money is to only give them control because, yeah, they're happy that they made all those billions, but only their friends made billions. All the people that want to like do natural cures and stuff, they'll lose their medical license. There's this thing called Gerson therapy that has cured tons of people from cancer. Now, I'm not saying if you have cancer, you should do Gerson therapy. I don't really know about it. However, I do know that it's in Mexico, and how come we can't have it in America? Why can't we have Gerson therapy in America? There's so many smart people in America. We could be missing out on cancer cures that these smart doctors could figure out because they're illegal. How come the only thing that's legal is chemotherapy for cancer? So if you're a doctor and you say, oh, you know what, I don't think you should take chemo, I think you should take juice or vitamin D, that doctor could lose his license for telling you that. So the Gerson therapy, which is like juice therapy, I think, and coffee enemas, I don't really know how it works. I'm not suggesting you do Gerson therapy. I am suggesting, however, that we should legalize natural cures in America right away because it also goes down to the healthcare costs. How come we can let, like that guy a few years ago that made the EpiPen, how come we can let him raise the price by like 700%? That should be criminalized. In Houston, when there was that huge disaster, they went in and said to the gas stations and stuff, you can't charge people more for gas because there's a crisis. The people need gas, so we're going to make sure that there's no price gouging. So how come we allow price gouging on medicine? There was even a movie by Michael Moore called Sicko, which showed that like insurance companies were ripping people off. They have entire departments that were designed just to try and like block people out. And at the end of the movie, or at some point in the movie, they even took this lady that was a 9/11 firefighter or a first responder. I don't know if she was like a paramedic or a firefighter. They took a 9/11 first responder that was from another state because it was an emergency. So awesome people, courageous, brave, like beautiful people came to help. And you know, because of all the like stuff that was coming from that building, because it was a big ass old building, they got stuff in their lungs. And then what happened? The like person in charge of New York said, "We're not going to help the people from other states that came in. If you're a New York first responder, yeah, we'll help you. The other guys, you're on your own with your medical costs." So they took this lady that was on her own suffering to Cuba on a boat and then went there and got the exact same medication that she was paying like hundreds of dollars per inhaler for 5 cents per inhaler. She like filled a suitcase in the movie of inhalers crying saying, I can't believe I've been getting ripped off. Cuba's selling this to me for 5 cents. So how come these cheap drugs, all the drugs in America are cheap, they're like a penny per pill, how come they're being able to be sold for up to $1,000 per pill? Why are we ripping off Americans so that a few small corrupt drug companies can make more money? Who can change that? Oh yeah, Congress can. Now, the only way you and I can change it is if we say stuff, if we write handwritten letters. Guess what? If everyone in America, there's 350 million people, if everyone in America writes handwritten letters to Congress, it will change real quick. They're afraid of handwritten letters. What they want is for you to just watch something on TV and forget about it and go about your normal day and let them do what they're doing. What they do not want is for you to stand up for your rights and use your free speech to write them a letter and A handwritten letter means everything. If even half the country wrote handwritten letters, there would be no corruption, probably in like a year. They would all have to change. Even if they didn't instate blockchain technology in the voting, to at least if we don't want to vote for someone, like who knows, did Trump even really win that election? Did Hillary really win the popular vote? We don't know. How do you know who got what vote? If we had blockchain, at least we'd have some proof that would show, yeah, these are real votes this person got. So we could have like a real gauge, which they don't want, because guess what? They want to control who's in power. They don't want somebody, a third party person coming up that's honest and good and going to make changes to be able to get a lot of votes. And they don't even want him to get 10 or 20% of the votes, because guess what? A lot of times people would vote for maybe Trump or Hillary because they think that voting for anyone else is a waste of their vote. Is it though? We don't know, because we don't really even know who's getting the real votes. So if we did blockchain technology, maybe next term we won't really get a good candidate in power. However, what if that person gets like 17% instead of 3%, and we're like, whoa, that wasn't a wasted vote. And then the 2 or 3 terms down in our lifetime, that person, that third person wins. That third party person wins. And why do we want a third party? Because the other two parties are in cahoots with each other, with drug companies, with insurance companies, with banks, with oil companies, and we shouldn't have that. That's not right for America. So thanks for listening. I just wanted to share that. Everybody have a great day.